Hello, I have been looking into getting Diablo 1 to run on the MiSTer AO486 core, and I thought it was running just using Daemon Tools, but I began trying it and playing it, and I kept running into crashes and errors being thrown. So apparently it's not that stable to rely on Daemon Tools for CD emulation on this core yet. So instead I looked into making a no CD solution for Diablo, and I found something interesting that it's possible to use the GOG version of Diablo. I actually haven't tried this. Is this working? It seems it actually is. It does have some video issues. But yeah, the GOG version has both the Hellfire and the original Diablo game in it. And it's only about 700 megabyte total, so it's not that big again, I think, considering the original Diablo itself was more than 500 megabyte. But it's probably because Sierra that made Hellfire, they reused a lot of the original assets from Diablo, which makes sense. There was a lot of good assets there. Now comes the interesting bit, whether it will actually enter the game itself, or if it's only running the demo. I've been playing around with some registries, so it's now looking at the Diablo folder for the Diablo CD, but I'm not sure how that works for Hellfire. But it seems it's working. Yes. So it has the intro and everything. But I should probably get into how I got it to work. So yeah, it has all the classes and everything seems to be working. If it's working this far, I'm pretty sure it also works in game as well as the original Diablo game. But yeah, I think you might have to install Diablo 1 to get this to work. But maybe I can just make some registry files I can share. I know they are possible to find elsewhere as well. So in the registry they have these options, and you can export them. So I did that on my Windows 10 PC, but unfortunately the Windows 10 regedit is using version 5, and all the way back here in with Windows 95 it's version 4, so they're not completely compatible, and maybe there was also some syntax problems when I edited it. But on top of that, there's different versions here. So we have archives, which has that is actually the same. I guess it's not really as complicated as I thought then. Well, somewhat the same. Because it is different in this way. I took these from my Windows 10 PC and moved them over and told them to look here for the Diablo CD. But the thing is, the GOG version is a no CD version of the game. But on the Windows 10 I used the export registry file, but there was a problem with doing that because I can't just run that file here. It actually looks pretty fine when I just view it this way, but if I click F4 on it, it becomes more obvious that there's some problems here. They are different in the file structure. So the second one here is how a regedit4 registry file works, and this is how it's supposed to look. So I actually managed to manually edit it. So what I practically did was I took a file like this and I just replaced the first part here with regedit4. So the first part is all of this. So I replaced that, and then I just did backspace here and click the arrow forward and click backspace. Wait, that wasn't right. Here we go. Click backspace here, click 2 times, backspace 2 times, 2 times right, backspace 2 times right, backspace. For some reason I'm pretty sure I actually only had to do it once. Well, but yeah, that's the trick to remove all of these. It's probably easier on Windows 10 to reformat this, and maybe there's a converter script online that can convert these version 5 to version 4. But something that's just easier to do is if I just share these scripts. And I'm not even sure if it's needed, because I think the main thing that fixes this here is the original script, which takes Diablo here, and that's actually not it. So I'll just show how to do it. So here we have Diablo, and we have these archives, and archives is what has all the right stats. So we click here and click export, and now we'll call it Blizzard 4 because I'm so creative. And then we can see here what that does. So it tells it to expect the shareware version of the game to be placed here in these folders, and the spawn version of Diablo to be placed here, which allows you to play down to level 2 in single player. And then there's a Diablo install, which is the directory where it expects Diablo to have been installed. And I'm not really sure how important that is, because well, this couldn't just be changed anyway, I think, to this directory maybe. But yeah, I did install Diablo, so I might have to experiment some more. But the trick here is to take the Diablo CD and point that to the correct directory, which is where the directory where I copied the GOG version of Diablo. So you can also see here that there's still some GOG files, like the icon here and GOG icon, and there's even some launchers. That's actually another thing to test. How will the launcher work now? This launcher usually doesn't work, but what I did instead was just launch the old version directly. So yeah, here it still complains, probably because I don't have all the registry files yet. And it complains about not being able to find this file. But the reason I got it to work is because I just went directly into DX, which is this has all the original Diablo files that haven't been changed by GOG, and the same with the Hellfire folder, which is the original Hellfire. So that works as well. But I'm not sure how much of these registry files these two are using, so I think I'll just try to share the ones I made here, so that you can get your GOG version to work like this with the AO486. But another thing I did to get this to work was that I copied from the original Diablo CD. I copied a lot of files. So to get it to work, you actually need the original CD and you need the GOG version, which doesn't have all the files required then. Unless I'm missing something. Let's see. A way to test it is autorun. Autorun wasn't usually here. I have the CD temp for experimenting. It has all the original files, but I know autorun is one of the files it looks for to verify that it's the CD it's using. So if we now try to run Diablo, it might complain about the CD not being there. But I think when we run the game this way, it actually only looks for the MP3 file with all the game data in. It's so yeah, that should make it simple to get this to work. So I suspect that should be enough to just run these the regedit files that I'll be sharing in the description. But another thing to show is how it works in game, and it actually, since I copied the whole Diablo folder, it just took the save game I had from my GOG version on my Windows 10 PC. So I have a level 8 character by now. I can load that. And Diablo does say it requires a Pentium machine to run. So when you try to install the original game, it'll complain about you not having a Pentium machine if you're trying to run it this way, or install it on this on the AO486. And I'm running it with Windows 95 OSR 2.5, I think it is. And it's a bit slow. You'll see that if you compare it to running it on a modern machine with the GOG version. It's a bit more noticeable when we get down in the dungeons. The loading time is still a bit slow. But yeah, using Daemon Tools, it would probably have crashed by now already. You could get down into the dungeons, but if you did, it would often just crash before long. so. Yeah, that is working. And I'm guessing if we could measure the frames per second, that it's maybe 10, maybe 15 frames per second. So it's running a bit slow, but it's playable. And maybe even a bit easier because it's running as slowly as it is, because it's not really affecting how you move your mouse and so on. So yeah, I think it's a bit easier than it should be playing it like this. I guess maybe later in the game, when there's going to be huge numbers of enemies, it might be a problem. It seems to be working quite well for me. To me, at least. That's not good. Someone else made a video about running Diablo 2 on this core, but it seems too slow to me. It does require even stronger computer than this game, and this is only just playable, I think. If it became just a bit slower than this, it would probably... already it's a bit annoying to play it this way. But it is very playable. It's not going to stop you from hitting the monsters and so on, because it's running slowly. It's not like suddenly the mouse cursor is at the other end of the screen. And Diablo is a game that's usually, for example, not that easy to get running on a Raspberry Pi. So it's very nice to see that that the MiSTer can run it. Yeah, then you can just save the game. Quit. I'm guessing it won't work with Battle.net, but actually it probably will work with Battle.net, because from what I remember with the GOG version, when you're running it this way, you have, if you run the enhanced version with graphics that are better suited for new displays and monitors, it will not support Battle.net. But if you run the original version of the game, it will support Battle.net. And I think that suggests that this would actually support Battle.net if you have the GOG version of the game. Yes, so I hope it won't be needed, that you won't be needing the CD to get this to run, because it already has I'm pretty sure it already has this setup file in the GOG version. I can just check that on my Windows 10 PC. Setup. No, that's actually a thing to test then. There. still runs. That's nice. So yeah, the GOG version is pretty cracked, and doesn't seem to do the same CD checks as the original game would. So it should be as simple as copying these files to a VHD you can use, and the GOG version, and then run them from a working installation of Windows 95 for the MiSTer. But one thing to keep in mind is that this script is made for Diablo to be in this exact folder, and it might even have to be updated a bit. Oh yeah, this was this one is actually just remembering the audio settings, so that's probably not important. I think the only thing we need is this one, because it stores this, the installation directory, and just a moment. So we won't need all of these. The spawn version, for example, if it's not installed, shouldn't be required. And this one is not required either. I think I'll actually just remove this key. And the rest you just make it possible to run the game, but you have to if it's not working, this should probably be set to Diablo if you're playing from the second VHD. But if you're installing it on the C drive where you have the system disk with Windows something, then you should probably have this set to D. And you can also just change this, save it, and then run it again. And it will say successfully entered into the registry. Yes, that should be it. I hope you liked the video and found this useful. And write something in the comments if you have some more questions about how to get this to work. Have a good day. Bye again.